One of the key mechanics in fighting games is the projectile. They're very versatile, primarily to attack from a distance, but they can also be used as traps, disruption, or even for combos. But one reliable thing about them is we always know what will come out when we input the move. However, what if we didn't? An element of projectile users in fighting games is the random item toss, where a select few characters have a different projectile that comes out each time, or at least a set amount of different projectiles that are never the same twice in a row. While fans generally call it a random item toss, it varies. Most of the time, it cycles through the same items in a row, so you just have to keep track of what you threw, while others are truly unpredictable. So for this video, I'm looking at my favorite characters that have this random item toss move. I'll be judging on the uniqueness of the mechanics and simply how they look. Some just have cool visuals, which is all I need sometimes. Now, let's mix it up with the top 10 random item toss fighting game characters. Number 10. Hsien-ko from Melty Blood. Hsien-ko is a maid who fights with items you'd find in a house. Anything for decoration, cooking, cleaning. It's very much a what if we weaponized a maid moveset, which is hilarious, especially with how deadpan Hsien-ko is during all of it. For the random item toss, if you input the move on its own, it will throw one of 6 items at random, which have differing properties based on speed and the arc they're thrown in. In no specific order, the lamp is a slow horizontal projectile, the pot goes at the highest arc, the book goes diagonally downwards, the vase goes at the lowest arc, the tray, which is also horizontal, goes much faster than the lamp, and the hanger, which is horizontal as well, has a speed between the lamp and the vase. Even though these come out at random on default, you can hold down certain directional inputs when you fire off the move to control which item comes out. So if you really like the book, go ahead, it's yours forever. Just hold down forward when you input the move. Only the hanger can't be controlled. The other variant of this attack throws 2 items at the same time, which are random on default as well, but the combination of one of the directional inputs once again lets you choose which 2 you get. Then if you enhance this attack, even more items are mixed in. So overall, the random factor is fun, but for clear and consistent gameplay, memorize those bonus inputs and you have a lot of controllable projectiles at your fingertips. And not just the random ones, her not random items are great too. She can make a picnic. But when in doubt, random item toss it out. Number 9. Phoenix Wright in Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Phoenix Wright is not usually remembered as a random item toss character. He's more thought of as a weak gimmick character who has to earn his power boost to temporarily become a strong gimmick character. Well, actually, he's more remembered as being a defense lawyer, but in terms of a fighting game character, that's what he's known for in the Marvel vs. Capcom series. To quickly summarize, he has 3 modes. He starts off in investigation mode, where you have to use his investigate move to randomly pick up an item as evidence. Once you find 3 pieces of valid evidence, switch into his trial mode, where he has to hit his opponent with an objection word bubble, and he can go into his turnabout mode, which is a super crazy strong mode where he can combo with giant full screen finger points for a short period of time before having to restart. But behind that funny gimmick is a random item toss mechanic. When he's picking up evidence, the items are more than just images. In trial mode, they turn into unique projectiles, but you cannot control which evidence you find, so unless you want to keep leaving yourself open to find the projectile you like, you're stuck with the first 3 you find. Like, you can keep on tossing out good evidence, but you're ultimately trying to get to a super mode. The projectiles are more just the tools you get on the way up. The items are the watch, which is the baseline forward projectile, the cell phone, which are delayed projectiles that strike after a few seconds, the vase, which is a slow-moving arced projectile, the envelope, which is a stationary projectile that explodes on contact with anything, the knife, which fires 3 projectiles forward, and the photo, which fires a single projectile forward but really fast. Besides making it impossible to predict which evidence you'll find, you also have the possibility of finding dud evidence, which you'll have to toss out. You can attempt to use it in trial mode, but it will just lead to a funny animation of Phoenix Wright getting annoyed. No one ever sees this animation because why would you deliberately go into trial mode and select the bad evidence? Anyway, that's how you fight with Phoenix Wright's RNG. It may not be reliable, but they sure made it interesting.
Order in the court! KO! You win! It takes more than brute strength to make your face and core.
Number 8. Uzuki from Under Night in Birth. Uzuki is such a strange and quirky character that a random item toss is merely one of many oddities surrounding her. She floats, she summons coffins, has skeletons of many varieties, has souls in her hat, and can turn into a puddle to avoid attacks, so a bag of tricks is just a drop in the bucket of her weird gimmicks. One day I'll give her a full overview, but for this topic, to add to her surprises, her satchel contains 3 items. It's a set pattern. First up in the rotation is her bottle, which will leave a puddle of poison that will slowly damage the opponent over time if they're hit by it. Next up is a bomb, which goes off after a few seconds, and Uzuki can bat it around to make it even more unpredictable. She is also unaffected by the explosion to avoid the risk. And finally, she has her rabbit buddy, who walks forward until he reaches the opponent and chomps him. This guy is relentless and follows you full screen, and he causes a lot of block stun, so blocking it gives Uzuki extra time to set up her next plan of attack. Then rinse and repeat with that item order. While these tricks seem easy to avoid if you follow their solo pathways, their purpose is to linger on the field, acting as impediments, making your opponent have to work around them while Uzuki is already moving like crazy. They're a menace alongside her floating and whipping her bone tentacles and what have you. She may not pack as many items in her bag as other characters on this list, but she has more than enough items hidden away in other locations. Number 7. Neko Arc from Melty Blood. This is the only reason I did not do a 1 character per series of origin rule for this video. Melty Blood has 2 reps that embody randomness so well, I could not decide. Neko Arc has always been known as the off-the-wall goofy character from the Melty Blood series, being a cat creature who can defy reality and bases its form off the protagonist, and the way they modernized her random power for Melty Blood type Lumina was so good. She now has a smartphone, and it calls in more Neko Arcs, randomly picking which Neko Arcs appear. Some of them have a higher probability to spawn than others. In order from most common to least common, we have the Train, where 3 Neko Arcs skip across the stage in a train costume for a few hits, the Light, where a Neko Arc floats on a flying cat and does nothing unless Neko Arc hits her off it, where then she falls off and runs in for a charge attack, the SOS, where 3 Neko Arcs fly in as rockets downwards, and then they have this digging animation to leave the field, which is really cute, the Can, which restores her meter by a bar when she touches it, but if the opponent touches it, then they get half a bar instead. The Phone Overheat, where Neko turns into a fire projectile for a second, and then she gets super armor for a few more seconds to avoid hit stun from the opponent. Next is the Gotcha Roll, which either drops food for meter or health recovery, or these black key projectiles. The second rarest is the character Saber appearing to do her full screen super, and finally the rarest, which can only happen once per round if at all, is VTuber Neko Arc, where she takes the foreground, covers up all the meter and health, and talks to us for a bit while dropping even more random items that restore health or meter. And a fan can even donate with a super chat to directly give Neko Arc these boosts. I love the creativity here. Unfortunately, the random factor to this move mixed with Neko Arc's overall short range attacks and low health make her a pretty unreliable character if you want to win consistently, but I still have a lot of fun with her. The partial saving grace to the random factor is a comic bubble will appear above the phone as she's calling in the help, with a symbol on it representing the random item that's about to come in, so you do have a split second to prepare. It's not much, but a heads up is still a heads up. Number 6. Peacock from Skullgirls. Peacock is the resident zoner of Skullgirls and has projectiles for pretty much every angle, including directly downwards on top of the opponent. This move is called Shadow of Impending Doom, where Peacock, who has the powers of a 1940s Looney Tunes character, drops a heavy item on the opponent's head. But what is the heavy item? Well, you don't know until it hits them. Peacock can drop an array of heavy objects and funny Easter eggs, and they just get bigger scooter the longer you hold down the command for the move. Releasing the move immediately will drop one of the smaller items, like a teacup, bowling ball, or fish. Hold it down for 2 seconds, and it upgrades into medium-sized items, like her anvil or megaton weight buddies, the head of misfortune, and a TV, which sometimes has the ring girl coming out of it, which is actually just Philia from the roster. And if you hold down the command for an extra 3 seconds, it drops the biggest items, like elephants, pianos, a moai head, living refrigerator, and the ultimate random item, Dio's Road Roller, where Peacock's bird friend Avery will proceed to freeze time, do some muda muda muda, and break the road roller, making this the most damaging of the random items. Peacock is able to move around while the item is dropping, with the only catch being if she is hit when it is still falling, the attack will stop and she'll need to start over. In addition, you can make the shadow follow your opponent as they move around. The light variant of the attack has a set distance where it will fall in front of Peacock, the medium will follow the opponent if they are close to Peacock, and the heavy version will track if they are half to full screen away from her. So with all that, the tools are in your hands. Call for the shadow and see what prize you get.
No sense in bumping gums.
Number 5. Vicola in Grand Blue Fantasy Versus. Vicola is a character who I feel you can't hate. She's a magical girl with a mouse theme who uses Snapchat filters and takes pictures with the opponent and fights with whimsy and fun and cartoon physics. She's all about zoning and setting up traps, and with her erratic nature, she can fire random items from her magically materializing cannon or just her thoughts. She literally thinks of the random items and they drop down. That's how creative she is. However, since her main method of firing off her projectiles is a cannon, most of her items are ball-shaped. There are 8 different possibilities, and there's no specific order they'll come out in. Let's start with the standard ball, which is your base damage projectile that explodes on contact. Then you have the more expected cannonball, which is overall stronger than the regular ball. There's also the spike ball, which rolls around at the speed of spike, the bomb, which detonates after a short period of time, the smoke bomb, which covers the screen in smoke to make the fight more annoying, the star, which is a bouncy projectile, the heart, which lands on the field and recovers health for whoever touches it first, and finally, the cheese, which works the same way as the heart, only it adds to your meter rather than your health bar. I also like this one because mice love cheese. It makes sense. I like how they implemented the random items here. She's already throwing enough crap on board at a breakneck speed, so why not add in another factor where she's not even sure what will happen next. That being said, she does have a queue up by her health bar preparing you for what item is coming up next, but still, you get what I mean. It's pretty random regardless.
Vengeance.
Easy cheesy.
Player 1, win.
Number 4. Teddy in Persona 4 Arena. Being a figurative and literal cartoon character, Teddy's persona has the power to pull random items out of nowhere, and they get pretty wacky. There's a set pattern of a whopping 17 items that will cycle through in order and repeat, so let's rapid fire through them. It starts with this robot who turns into an upwards missile. Then it's a soda that restores health and gets rid of status ailments to whoever reaches it first. Next is another robot with an angling missile. After that is food that inflicts a status ailment to whoever touches it. Then it's a smart bomb, which is a hilarious name for dynamite on a balloon, which detonates on contact. After that is a slow-moving robot for disruption. On deck is a rolling oil drum that can multi-hit as another impediment. After that is a key, which calls out a scooter for a different rolling projectile when somebody touches it. Following that is a firecracker that fires at a zigzag pattern. Next is dry ice that freezes the opponent. Then we have the vanishing bomb that covers Teddy in smoke to be elusive. After that comes a ninja robot who goes invisible until he strikes the opponent low. Following that is a muscle drink that either player can pick up for health recovery in exchange for the rage status condition. Then it's the pinwheel for a boomerang style effect. We got another robot next who stands there and releases some zaps. Then comes the lightning drum, which creates a downwards lightning bolt which can create the paralysis effect. And finally, there's the bucket, which creates a downpour of more buckets. And that's all the items in order. That being said, the order will differ depending on the game he's in, and I know this because I used a game with a different order for the B-roll, if that affects your perception. Final verdict, it's definitely wacky, and these all have cool varied effects, but with the large pool of projectiles that you have to cycle through, I can't imagine being able to consistently rely on them. They seem more like tools you react to, where if you have an offensive item, great, you can plan around it in the moment. If it's a defensive item due up, fine, plan for some extra coverage and you do your other lines of attack. It's a wild game plan for sure, but this is a wild bear, so I'm sure he's ready for it. Number 3, Hsien-ko from Darkstalkers. I like the aesthetic of Hsien-ko being an item toss character because her sleeves are huge. She logically can fit a treasure trove of items in there, and lore-wise, she does. Since when she gets zapped and you can see her x-ray, her sleeves show the layout of each item tucked away in there. She doesn't even need to rely on cartoon physics to hold everything. Hsien-ko's item toss is called An-ki-ho, and it might as well be random. There is a pattern if you use the medium and heavy variant, but the light variant has its own pattern that messes up the other set patterns of the medium and heavy. Also, there's an order of 32 items before it resets, so have fun memorizing all that. And on top of that, some of the items in queue are set to always be random, so even if you get the pattern down, you won't know which item is coming for some of the set rotation. The main items you want to look out for are the ones that put your opponent in a stun state, which allows you to get in for a combo. The items that cause this state are the boulder, star, and mallet. Other items just cause standard projectile damage, like the shuriken, boomerang, or axe. However, there's also a statue of Akuma from Street Fighter in there, which is still standard projectile damage, but whenever it comes up in the cycle, it always indicates that the following projectile will definitely be a stun projectile, just in case you lose track of the pattern. If you enhance this move, she'll throw 3 rolling spike balls instead, which is my go-to get away from me tool, since she rolls them slow enough to mess up your opponent's timing to get in. And also to note, with a different input, she'll throw a bomb instead that counts down. Now if you want a different set of items to keep track of, Hsien-ko was also in Marvel vs. Capcom 3, where her item toss had even more properties. Some of the base damage items return, like the shuriken and axe, and she got some new Capcom references as base items, like the oil drum, Chun-Li bracelet, and meat from Monster Hunter that quotes the game when it's thrown. For some new item effects, she now has a stun rod and snowman in rotation that causes longer hit stun on the opponent, and a new samurai statue that staggers the opponent on hit. And for a couple more returning items, the bomb appears again, now just in regular rotation of the random item toss, and she has stun items again, with the star making a return along with a bonsai tree added in. Unfortunately, Hsien-ko is considered among the worst characters in this game since she is painfully slow and has weak combo potential, but I'm just the messenger here. I love Hsien-ko, and it was cool to see her with a 3D model here. Just make her a little better if you ever put her in another crossover Capcom, or God forbid a new Darkstalkers game.
You're gonna get hurt! Can you stay home?
You win!
That's a win for me!
Number 2, Platinum the Trinity from BlazBlue. Platinum is a magical girl made up of 3 people with one big staff. She's good at using her cutesy magic powers like bubbles, with the ability to whack with her weapon. But that staff is for more than just a single whack. It's the source of all her randomness. She has 8 items that she can equip to it, and they're all chosen randomly. Each item has limited uses, and no item will repeat until you cycle through all 8. You can equip the next random item with a single button, and she has a super that equips her next item with enhancements. In no specific order, let's look at all the items that she can equip. Magical Missile is a projectile that fires in and can stack 3 at a time, which depletes them faster. Magical Bomb is an arced projectile that stays on the field even if Platinum is hit, so your opponent can get interrupted right back. Magical Do-Re-Mi Box acts as a ground trap that sends them flying upwards if it hits. Magical Boomerang is exactly what it sounds sounds like, and it can re-equip on the snapback, making it infinitely equipped if you want it. Pico Hammer is her main combo extender, and can create a ground pound if you enhance it. Magical Cat Hammer is a mid-range hammer swing, Magical Bat is an anti-air swing, and Magical Frying Pan spins the opponent around to create more combo opportunities. And as mentioned, the super enhances these items, usually giving you more range, power, or bigger hitboxes. Even though these items are chosen randomly, the one factor that lets you plan is the following item will show up on a queue by your meter, so with a quick glance, you'll know what to prepare for next, and you might even choose to overwrite your current item if your favorite weapon is coming up. So overall, this moveset is for you if you like to plan ahead, but not too far ahead. For number 1, I went with the Master of Random, the character who may have not invented the random item toss, but he embraced it, embodied it, and made it his own. Number 1, Faust from Guilty Gear. Faust is such a goofy character. He's a tall and lanky disgraced doctor who is making up for his past by helping people, but hides his identity with a paper bag because he's goofy. Faust does everything to break reality to perform his moves, like teleporting by opening a door somewhere else on the field, removing his head to reveal it was a bomb, or spinning around like the Tasmanian Devil. So fittingly, he has a random item toss to make him feel even more wacky. This item toss is truly random, with probability to make some items show up more often than not, though if you can somehow throw 136 times in a match, you're guaranteed to get all of them. Faust pulls an item out of hammer space and lets fate decide what's coming as he throws it upwards and it lands down. Based on the premier game of this move, the Guilty Gear XX games, the probability from most to least is the Time Bomb, tied next are the Hammer, Chibi Faust, and Poison. The Hammer can stun, Chibi Faust crawls on the floor as a slow-moving projectile, and the Poison does what you'd expect. Next in the probability is the Food, which heals health and meter. Tied after that are the Meteors, Dumbbell, Washpan, and Mini Robo-Kai, and to go over each one, the Meteors are randomly spread downward projectiles, so it's random on top of your random. The Dumbbell is a stronger hammer, the Washpan is a slow falling projectile, and Robo-Kai is similar to Mini Faust, but he falls slower. Next is the Coin, which powers up his chop, the Chikua is after that, which heals your health a little and maxes out your meter, and the rarest item is Mini Potemkin, which is another slow-moving tiny projectile, but it has 3 massively damaging hits. Next in the series is Guilty Gear Xrd, which brought back about half the items with similar probability, and then of course added in more. The Hammer, Bomb, Meteors, Poison, Food, and Mini Faust return, and added to the mix are the 100-ton weight, which does no damage but leads to a hard knockdown, the Oil Drum, which causes players to slide on puddles it spills and explodes when a fire-based attack hits it, the Jump Pad, which launches whatever player touches it, the Black Hole, which drags the opponent inwards, and the rarest item, the Helium, which is a joke item, it does nothing. The Xrd games also introduced jackpot versions of some items, which are just bigger and better versions of those attacks, like Chibi Faust now being mega-sized. Finally, in the most recent game of the series, Guilty Gear Strive, Faust's random item toss brought back over half the items and added in a trumpet to release a stampede of Chibi Fausts, the Bananas, which either heal or release a slippery peel, and the Afro, which grants your opponent a new hairdo, but increases their hitbox to get hit by attacks more often, and makes them more prone to fire-based moves. And if you really like your random item tosses, he has an enhanced version where he throws 4 at a time, and an even more enhanced version to throw 10 at a time. The ways they kept this item toss familiar in each game, while still adding enough to make the bundle of items feel unique, shows that Faust evolves with the times. So for giving us even more variety and just being the character that embodies randomness the best, Faust takes top spot of the random item tossers in fighting games.
Bow, bow. Win. Straight.
Now, what did you think? Were all these random item tossers tossing items randomly, or was there a bit too much order to their chaos? And who are some of your favorite characters with this skill, whether I discussed them or not? Let me know in the comments. Anyway, thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next video.